All right, it's 2 o'clock, and I am just delighted to welcome everyone who's able to join us today for this special webinar on healthcare. And we're just glad you could join us. We've got an excellent webinar planned for you today, and an expert that'll be with us here, and I'll introduce momentarily. We will respect your time, stay right on par, and you can get right into the depth of this quickly. At the very end of this, Ellen Daniels will join us. You see her name on the screen, and she will guide us through a Q&A time. So as you're listening and gathering information, which will be presented in a very understandable way, write your questions down and have those ready, and we'll make sure those get answered by our expert at the tail end. I'm Jeff Janess, Chief Strategy Officer for Servant Solutions. I've been here for a couple of years, like 28, and we are just delighted in the work that we get to do in Kingdom work to serve in financial planning and in retirement planning for all of our constituencies. And most all of you who are on today are probably engaged with us. We're delighted that we've been able to form some partnerships with some wonderful organizations to try to solve problems in the area of finance and retirement planning, financial planning, and healthcare. Who of us doesn't have challenges in this arena of healthcare? And so today I'm just delighted to introduce to you John Staub with Remodel Health, which is one of our partners. We've gotten to know them well. This is an excellent organization that's committed to solving healthcare challenges for organizations, and primarily organizations in the not-for-profit sector, including many, many churches. And they do great work to help match the cutting of cost without the forfeiture of quality. And they do that through a very sophisticated software program. John will tell you more about that. And we'll also give you information where you can kind of vet them and look at some of the information relative to what you hear today. There's some incredible strategies John's going to unpack for us, and I don't want you to miss the possible opportunities that are there. At the tail end, we'll talk about some leveraging strategies also for retirement planning that might couple with that, with newfound money. And so let me introduce you to John now, and we'll get our webinar underway. John is the Brand Development Manager for Remodel Health. He's been there over 3 years. Has a great pedigree in the business arena, and has done some really interesting, fascinating things that have just packed his pedigree full with knowledge that has led him to this ability now to impart this to us today and find ways to really make healthcare more affordable for our employers. He is also, in a past life, has been a worship pastor. He has his MDiv from Liberty University, and he said if things get a little too boring, he's going to pick up his guitar over in the corner, but hopefully he'll unpack this in a way that we'll scoot right through. So without further ado, I want to introduce to you John Staub from Remodel Health. John, welcome. We're so glad to have you.
Thank you, Jeff. I'm really grateful to be here and looking forward to sharing everything that I've been able to learn from the last stimulus that just happened, the American Rescue Plan. I do promise that I will not bore you. We will keep this engaging and we'll keep it moving. Ultimately, hope that you walk away with some new ideas, some new things you can do about those ideas, and ultimately just to learn. I want to make sure that you feel educated and enriched as we all step away from our time today. Jeff, do you mind if I share my screen and get us going on some slides? Is that good with you? I see that you're muted, but I see by your smile you're saying that that's okay. So I'm going to keep us going forward. All right, here are my slides here, and if y'all can't hear me or see anything, feel free to use the chat. We are going to be taking questions, so feel free to send them in the question and answer feature, and then we'll have someone funnel those to myself and Jeff at the end. Without any further ado, let's get into this. I do want to start off sharing just a little bit more of myself, only because you're going to listen to me, so you might as well know a little bit about me. My name is John, and I have been in the insurance space now for less time than I was in the pastoral space. Honestly, even before I was a pastor, I was a missionary with my family in Brazil, South America for 3 years, lived right on the Amazon. It was an incredible time, and it truly gave me a heart for ministry. I still consider the seat that I sit in today at Remodel Health a ministry seat. And so I hope that today that you feel ministered to as I give you new information, maybe information you've known, but you understand it better. And that's my heart. I want to be as pastoral as I can in the midst of all these details here. Very briefly about Remodel Health, and this is not a commercial for us. Obviously, we work in this space. If you want to know more about us, you'll have an opportunity to find out more. But I want to give you a frame of reference on why I know about this and the details we're looking at today. Remodel Health is health benefits tailored to the organization's needs. So generally speaking, I'll work with an employer who is offering some form of health benefits or wants to, and then we help them to discover more options, ultimately to serve their employees better, but controlling costs and quality in a way they never have before. That means that more resources stay in the mission. Now, I know that we're going to have a mixed group today of both individuals, and you're just by yourself with your health benefits, or groups. I'm going to talk to both of you. So don't check out if you are like, oh, well, he's just talking to an organization. No, this is for you as a pastor who might have your own plan or might not have your own plan yet. I'll give you tons of advice, as well as an organization and you offer a plan or you want to offer a plan to your team. This is going to work for both of you. So hang in there and we're going to keep going. Also, just to clarify for the sake of time, I'm hoping to give the slides about 15, 20 minutes. I'm going to just keep it going. And that's what the questions at the end are for. Okay. So we're going to look at why the third stimulus matters. It is the American Rescue Plan of 2021. It's that $1,400 stimulus check that you probably saw all over the news. That's the one. And these details didn't get a lot of notice just because there are a lot of things in a $1.9 trillion bill. So this is one of those things that was included in that. I want to say something right away, though, that you are not alone. As the leader of an organization or as an individual, this can all feel very scary or at least complicated, and it is. 96% of Americans don't understand the four most basic insurance terms, or they're supposed to be basic. Clearly, they're not. 96% of Americans will feel the same way that you feel when you're trying to understand this, so you're not alone. Now, I want to give you a picture of why I get so excited about this. One of the reasons that I get excited about this is because of situations like this. This is a real life story of an impact that we saw because of the American Rescue Plan using this model that we're going to talk about in a little bit. So traditional group costs, they're paying about $350,000 per year. They have 25 individuals as a group over in Illinois. And they were going to save about $10,000 using a managed individual model. We'll get into that a little bit at the end. They're going to save and are saving now $146,000. This is for 25 employees. Okay. As an organization, I get to do this all over the country with groups. That's a huge impact. And if you've seen a church budget, if you've seen a nonprofit budget, even a small business budget, you know, $146,000 post-pandemic is a big deal. And that's why I get excited about this. And so the basics, though, of how we get there, okay, is that there are bigger discounts on plans, and even more people qualify for those discounts. Now, what plans are those? Well, these are individual plans on the marketplace. And so I'll explain more about those, but these are not traditional group plans. These are going to be the individual plans, and there are discounts available through advanced premium tax credits and subsidies and all that. But these are the basics right here. So we're going to unpack some of these key details today. Also, it does look like we're starting to see some questions already roll in. So that's great. Again, just use the Q&A feature in the little module on Zoom, and we'll be happy to get to your questions as best as we can at the end here. And if not, get connected directly with us. So there are three examples that I want you to put yourself into right now, either as an individual or as a leader of a team. You're either spending too much, you're spending unwisely, and I don't want that to feel too rude or uncomfortable, but spending unwisely, or you're just not spending at all. Generally speaking, I've found those are the three categories that people can find themselves in. Now, let's talk about spending too much first. I want to kind of explain why the newness and the rethinking health benefits is so important. We got to backtrack a little bit to what you're currently doing or have been doing. So over the past 10 years, we've seen about a 5 to 7% increase on traditional insurance. This is going to be your traditional group through an employer. Those have increased anywhere from 5 to 7%, sometimes upwards of double-digit increases. But if you look at the aggregate increase, 7% every year, 5, 7, 10, 7, 5. Over 10 years, you're spending about twice as much on health insurance. That is too much. Now, individual plans, their core plans, this is without the discounts, have remained around flat. People have asked the question of why. Well, individual plans are just more stable because there's more of them. They're more competitive. They're not fluctuating as much, and they're getting much more participation over the years. It's a wonderful product. Certainly the trend of health benefits in the United States. Now we're spending more, but we're getting less. Deductibles have actually gone up by about 212% in the past 10 years. So not only are we seeing a doubling of the cost, we're seeing a worsening of the product. So think of how silly it would be to pay an employee to be paid more to do less work. That does not make sense. But that's essentially what we've been doing with our health benefits for far, far too long. Now, spending on wisely is something I'm probably more passionate about than just overspending. There are better ways to think about the aggregate risk of healthcare and the cost involved. Now, it's very complex, so I'm trying to simplify it. I'm going to paint with a broad stroke here and look at a lot of national averages. But in general, those gold copay plans that maybe you've wanted, maybe you have, maybe you're offering, are just more expensive than consumer-driven plans. These are going to be those health savings account eligible HSA plans that can help you save up money. So think about saving $10,000 just by picking a better product. And you might be asking, well, aren't they high deductible plans? Well, they are labeled as such, and there's a reason behind them. But generally speaking, when you look at the averages, the first thing to note is that the out-of-pocket limit on most of the gold copay plans are more than the high deductible health plans. Well, why is that? That's a great question. There's a lot of silly things when it comes to health insurance. I don't have all the answers, but what I can tell you is that you immediately save in general on your out-of-pocket limit right away. Now, that's not the only thing that matters. It also matters how you get to your out-of-pocket limit, your worst year, the total amount you might spend in a year. Again, whether you're an employer helping your employees or you're just an individual on a plan, this applies to your strategy, okay? So the first thing is the HSA plans, the consumer-driven ones, they're going to be about $10,000 less. Just mentioned that. But then what do you do with that savings? Then that means you're going to start better insuring yourself. So, by the way, this doesn't have anything to do yet with the new discounts and saving money. I'm just helping you to be wiser and smarter with your spend right now. So take from the savings on the premium, it's cost less, put that into those savings accounts and start to self-insure a little bit. A lot of families are going to be able to have all the money that they need to fully cover their full family of out-of-pocket expenses in about 2 or 3 years of following this strategy. It's really amazing. And so if you just look right here, in year one, if you do save $10,000, you're going to put $7,200, which is the IRS limit for 2021, into that HSA. Your total aggregate risk limit is now at $6,800, and you're saving almost $3,000 in cash. So you have better total coverage because insurance is for a worse year, and you're saving money. Okay, that's just great advice. Spend more wisely. Now, the third thing is a topic I'm also really passionate about. And I promise I won't keep saying that, but these are the two things that I like most: spending wisely and spending is, about, two out of 6 people are going to get a bill they were not expecting from the doctor. They were not expecting. And what that has done is that the number one cause of bankruptcy in the United States are medical expenses still. Now, there's a lot of factors behind this, I know, but what that means is that you cannot be one of the people that doesn't have health benefits. It's very similar to planning for the future. You have to start your retirement now and start early and catch up and be on a good trend line. You can't just expect something is going to happen at the end if you're not preparing for it now. And if we look at the data, 66% of all bankruptcies are because of medical expenses. A lot of those people even had just bad plans. They were spending unwisely, but a lot of those people just weren't spending at all. And honestly, when I saw this data from the Kaiser Family Foundation, that the uninsured population was ticking back up, largely due to people opting out of an employer plan because it cost them too much, or just opting out of getting themselves personally insured. We got to make sure that we're at least spending something. So again, you're spending too much, you're spending unwisely, or you're not spending anything at all. Let's think now on how you have a new opportunity in front of you because you have these deeply discounted plans. It's better than ever to take care of yourself, to help yourself out, or to take care of your team. And then you can either save money on the plan itself and make the plan better, or even if you just look at the plans or the environments I just gave financially, you can start looking toward your future for retirement. That's one of the reasons why we love partnering with Servant Solutions is because of that very reason of how they continue to serve. So again, we're going to talk about why does it matter? Here are the basics: bigger discounts on plans, even more people qualified. I said it once, now I've said it twice. Hopefully that'll stick into your brain. But now let's get into stories. Okay, to me, stories are how we learn best. And I'm going to apply the actual numbers to real life situations. Okay, here's a family. I've worked with a lot of pastors and I've seen a lot of this example right here. Okay. And again, if you're an employer, don't check out here because this could be one of your people. And then if you're an individual, this definitely matters. So let's say that there's a family of 4, single income, maybe, you got mama staying home with a new kiddo. My wife and I have one on the way. So this is, I love this whole example of this family expanding. They're trying to figure out ways to take care of their resources here. And so mama's going to stay home with the new kiddo and then the older brother that's there. Okay. So she's at home and they have one income right now. They're bringing in about $60,000 of income. They are going to see a 58% decrease in their premium because of the American Rescue Plan. Okay. Whereas they were paying something before, that cost is now 58% less. Now, for the engineers in the room and the people that really want the spreadsheets, I'm going to bless you with that also. We're going to get into the calculations, but let's not lose sight of the story first. Okay. So a 58% decrease, it actually, the national average, it's going to equate to about $221 a month. And I've been doing some research myself that diapers per month cost anywhere from $80 to $100. So this helps them cover their new diapers. But it also gives them some money to start thinking about what can they do for the future. And Jeff's going to be able to unpack that at the end. I'm really excited in our pre-meetings, the incredible things that can be done when it comes to planning for your future in your retirement. But it's just a little teaser. Let's keep going. Now, here's another story. I saw this story plenty of times. Let's say a 6-year-old couple, recent empty nesters. They're super excited to celebrate this time of their life. They got their kiddos sent off and, maybe there's a part-time job, one full-time job. They're bringing in about $75,000 and they are going to see this year, because of the American Rescue Plan's third stimulus, their costs are going down nearly $17,000. Okay. So this might be you. This might be your situation right now. And hopefully you know about this. If not, we are definitely going to make sure you know all the information on how to take advantage of this. But let's just think about this family right here, this couple. It's a 42% decrease, but it's because of new discounts that were not available before that are now. $16,000 $17,000. Think about what that can do for your future if you're going to try to catch up on your retirement. Again, another teaser Jeff's going to show us at the end. I'm really excited to hear him talk about that. So here's a step-by-step. We have these two families, family of four, saving, over $200 a month. They've saved nearly 60% on their insurance. And then a 6-year-old empty nester couple, they're going to save $17,000. All right. That's too good to be true. How does that happen? Well, let's break it down. I love math. I'm an unapologetic nerd. And so I gave the vision for the vision people, and now I'm going to give the details for the details people. So hang on. We're going to get through this. It will make sense. I promise. What it first starts with is something called the federal poverty level. It's a benchmark that the government gives. They change it every year. It changes slightly. But look at the example at the bottom. A family of four that makes $79,500 will be at the 300% FPL. So look at the spreadsheet that I have here, family of four, and then you look at 26,500, that would be the 100% FPL mark, okay? So then if you multiply that by 300%, then you're going to get 79,500, okay? That's the simple part about it. The reason why you need that is because then the percentages, then you go over and you look at what is the cost limit, the spend limit a family will have on the benchmark product. This is how the subsidy is actually calculated, the discount for an individual product. Now, the mechanism, by the way, and we can get into this at the end if you'd like, they are tax credits. So it's just like your child tax credit, earned income tax credit. If you've heard of any of those, it's just another tax credit. We call them subsidies. I call them discounts. That's how they work. But it's tax credit. So very simple there. So you have your FPL, then you figure out what's your spend limit for the benchmark. Okay. I'm not going to go into the full breakdown here. Feel free to take a screenshot. I can send you my deck later if you'd like, but that's how the subsidy is made. Now, what changed first, I said, there's increased discounts. Look at the percentage that people are supposed to spend here, and then just look at this percentage that's next to them. Okay. Very clear, those percentages have gone down. In fact, the old average of all those spends, you don't necessarily need to know what they mean. Just look at the percentage. Now look at the new average, in half. So the cost that is expected of individuals to pay has been cut in half on average. That doesn't even count. Look at that bottom one, the over the 400%. It's a threshold where you did not get any discounts. Now everyone gets discounts. And that's a really, really big deal. Now, let's break down the story again. Okay, here's our story for our vision people, 58% decrease. What's actually happening? Again, these are national averages. So feel free to, look at my source here. So originally for the benchmark plan, the silver benchmark that they build everything against to figure out the subsidy, they were paying 7.6% of their annual income, but now that percentage has changed because of the American Rescue Plan. Now they pay no more than 3.2%. So they were paying $379. Now they are paying $158. Okay. And then that's where the 221% difference is. I'm going to break this one more down so we can see this, and then I'm going to add in a key detail. I don't think I've said it clearly yet for this. And so this family right here, the 6-year-old couple, recent empty nesters, saving $17,000. This is surely the one that seems too good to be true, right? Well, originally they were at 435% FPL. Whoa, how did they get there? Well, remember with the FPL, as you lose people out of your house, your number goes down. And that's just part of the equation of what was happening. A lot of people said this was one of the biggest problems and gaps in the Affordable Care Act. And so they fixed it right now. And so it's 8.5% is the cap on everyone that's above that. Well, you can see they were paying an unsubsidized plan, $1,920 for that benchmark plan. Now it's subsidized. They have a discount because it's capped. Now they pay $531. And so they're getting about $1,400 of a tax credit every month going toward their plan. Now, let me give you a quick breakdown for those that are wondering. If you're not wondering, just listen, and I promise you'll get it. You're going to learn something today. The way that it works is this: you look at your total income and you look at the cost of the plan, but you don't price it based on the plan, you price it based on their income. So that this is 8.5% of their income. They're saying, hey, you don't have to pay any more than $531 per month. Oh, but the plan is $1,921. The tax credit just covers that. And so it doesn't matter, even if the benchmark plan becomes much more expensive, they still pay $531. They just get more of a tax credit. That's how that works. The tax credit then just gets sent to the carrier on their behalf every single month. They don't have to worry about it. It trues up at the end of the year. So hopefully y'all got that there. So smarter healthcare spending creates stability and savings for greater security. Okay. Smarter healthcare spending creates stability and savings for greater security. There's a smarter way to spend than the traditional group plans. In fact, group plans are now more expensive than those individual plans. So if you're a leader out there, you're looking at starting them up, or you have one, you've got to look into this right now. Be a good steward. And then if you are just on your own, there are smart ways. First, make sure and reprocess your application. If you need details on that, I can help you out. But get your discounts and then do something with your savings. Make sure you're accounting for that. What does it mean for group benefits? Now, just hang on here real quick. Just a few slides. No one was going to the doctor in 2020 because we were all at home. Okay. The hospital shut down. Now they're back open. So a bunch of the care, the planned care that was going to happen in 2020 is now happening in 2021 on top of the 2021 planned care. So that means there's more activity happening in healthcare now than was in 2020. Well, what does that also mean? That means that the carriers are having to pay a whole bunch more, which means they're going to dump it on their group. So if you have a group plan right now, the averages we're seeing anywhere from 10% here in this one study, all the way up to possibly 18%. That's what we're seeing right now. I'm already seeing some mid-year renewals coming in at least 7%. That's the low mark. So those are mid-year renewals. So just hang on there if you are a group. Employers can leverage individual plans and unlock discounts. We have software that can do that. We do that very, very simply on our end to calculate a whole bunch of things and let you see what your options are. It's not hard. We can feel free to do that. That's going to be about that all I'm going to be doing. But here's what I want you to know before I hand it off to Jeff and we get into questions. Savings allows you to finally start investing instead of just spending. Whether you go to a health savings account. Did you know that health savings accounts can actually help with your retirement? One of my favorite things. But that's not the only way you should be saving for your retirement. You also need to be actually thinking about how can you invest in just spending. Okay, that's my big takeaway. There are truly, I remember just giving you a little bit of peek inside of working at Remodel Health. It was real fun a couple of weeks ago when we saw this law come through. We knew it was possible. We weren't sure exactly what was going to happen, but overnight, our groups were able to save, our pastors, the churches and schools that we serve, immediately millions to save because of this. And we know that's going back into mission, regained and repurposed to help serve better. So that's what I'm excited about. Excited to get into our questions. Excited to hear Jeff unpack what this actually means. But Jeff, I'm going to stop sharing my slides right now because I want to make sure that we get a chance to land the plane when it comes to what happens if I get a bunch of savings as an individual or as an organization. Now, what do I do, Jeff? Help me out.
All right. You set me up perfectly, John. Thank you. Great presentation. A lot of information there. And I'm anxious also to get to the questions and answers. And so I'll just give you a few little tidbits here. We're going to screen share again, I think, and just give a couple bullet points that we can work from. If we'll see that come up here in just a moment. And what I want to talk about is what John has shared with us is available. I mean, it's incredible. Those are real savings. Those are subsidized savings through the American Rescue Act, and they're real. And there's some things you can do with those dollars that are quite phenomenal. Not only can you accrue those savings, but you can strategize to do salary reductions with some of that money or all of that money if you're behind on your retirement planning. And you know how passionate we are at Servant Solutions about that, about helping you make sure that you're planned well and you're planned fully for retirement or for what we call gear shifting as you move into different phases of ministry or slow down just a little bit. It takes some dollars to do that. What a find this would be to have those dollars available. So I just saw the slides go away, but we'll get those back. But basically what we know and what you probably are aware of is that it takes about 74 cents to fund a full dollar if you use tax efficiency within your strategies. And so the ability to do a salary reduction with these newfound dollars through the savings that John has opened and illuminated to us here through the presentation he's given can really be highly leveraged that way with those tax deferral savings. For those of you who are checked in today who are ministers, you also know that there's that ability to take those savings, put those dollars away in that deferred fashion, and later when you begin to take those dollars out in distributions for income in retirement, for pastors, there's a housing allowance provision that we're able to enact for you and designate that can literally save thousands and thousands of tax dollars. Many of our retired ministers are not required to pay any income tax on their distributions in retirement. So a lot of strategies there that can really work. You'll see the bullets there. Servant Solutions is committed to trying to get you information like today's seminar. And we're so thankful to John for unpacking this, and we'll continue to do that. Remodel Health partners with churches and organizations, as you've heard. They are not high pressure people. We've worked closely with them here at Servant Solutions and within the Church of God Ministries building, and really found them to be wonderful people to partner with and to connect with, and they'll answer your questions. If that's the chosen partner you find, boy, I don't think you'll be sorry. And we can help you leverage these strategies. One more slide, then we'll go to Q&A. Okay, here's the just the American Rescue Plan piece of what John unpacked for us, the example of a family of 4 with 2 kids and the savings there versus even a married couple at 60 and even a larger take there. Those deferrals could be the difference of a lot of things within retirement. So leveraging those kinds of savings could be important to you, and that's where maybe we can help as well. You know how to reach us. We're just a phone call away or an email away, and we're glad to do that. So with that, I'm going to ask Ellen if she will join us. She's going to come on the screen. This is Ellen Daniels, the Director of Engagement at Servant Solutions. And she's going to take us through a moderation of some questions, and she's going to try her best to stump John. I don't know if she can, but you put some good questions out there. I've been tracking them and watching them. So Ellen, if you'll line up the first one of those.
Definitely. And we have quite a few questions. I will say here at the front, if we don't get to your question, just know that this will be posted. We will put this on our website, and you'll be able to go back and look at answers of these good questions. But the first question is, Wendy is asking, is there any assurance that these American Rescue policies will be made permanent? My understanding was that they are temporary at this point.
Yeah, that's a great question, and probably one of the most asked questions that I've gotten. So pen on paper, law right now is 2 years, the 2021 tax year and the 2022 tax year. I will tell you that one of the ways we can predict the future, or at least project the future, is we look at history and historical trends on when these sorts of changes happen. What can we expect of their future? Well, in about 2 years, we would expect one of 2 things. First, it's already in committee to see if this change would be made permanent. I'm going to take a sidebar here, just a quick moment. Our representation of these changes, I don't want anyone to take that as us endorsing or denying these policies. Our goal is to simply educate you on what is and what will likely be. We try to leave all of our personal opinions and politics at the door just to serve you with the data that we have and the opportunities available. So, I can get really excited about the laws that are currently available to help serve churches, and that's what we're all about. Back to my commentary on what we can expect. We would expect them to try to make it permanent within the next 2 years. We would expect that. It's already in works right now in Washington, D.C. At the very least, we would expect it to be continued on by executive order, at least until the finish of the current presidential administration. It's a very simple and easy thing for the administration to do. We would expect, for the same reason that it was started to begin with, that it'll continue on for at least 4 years. Beyond that, we don't know. So we think that we at least have a guarantee of 4 years, but a lot can change in 4 years. So we'll help you out along the way between now and then.
Thank you, John.
Yeah.
Another question. Isaac wants to know, how will this apply to people over the age of 74 or 75 with pre-existing conditions? He's been fearful of making changes in medical plans and companies because he's locked into now and doesn't want to go to a company that possibly could drop he and his wife.
Yeah, that's a great question. And just for clarity, Ellen, did you say 74 or 75 years old?
Correct.
Okay,
With
cool.
pre-existing conditions.
Yeah, so obviously every single individual situation is going to be different. So I'll try to paint with a broad paintbrush right here. But in general, someone that's 74, 75 would be eligible for Medicare. And then I would recommend making sure to get some sort of a supplement. That's not always the same, not always the case. There are generally lots of guaranteed issue plans out there as well for most people. With that said, if you're happy with what you have right now, if you are currently investing in your retirement and for your future, and you don't need to make any changes and you're okay, that's okay too. So I just want to make sure and give that answer.
Okay. Jeff, this one probably is geared more towards you. Why shouldn't I just put the money that I've saved through this into the bank rather than investing it?
Oh, okay. Yeah. Well, it could be that you need a reserve position, and that may be part of the answer or the entirety of the answer. But I think for many people, what we found in our conversations is that dollars are so precious. I mean, just relative to incomes earned and trying to put enough money away. And in our planning process is looking what it's going to take to make sure that retirement's comfortable and that you don't fall off an income cliff. This is one of those great jumpstart ways to do some extra catch up that would not be possible otherwise. So there seems to be the natural strategies that's right there available. But for some people, it may be that some reserve dollars in the bank are necessary. And, we kind of belly up to those normal financial planner kinds of recommendations that a 6 month of salary amount of money in a reserve position is pretty important so that you can respond when a major need does come up. So, but strategically from a retirement planning standpoint, this is a great opportunity to sock some pretty big dollars away, defer them, and then accrue also the tax savings on the front end from doing that through salary reduction.
Great. If the costs are going down, John, but the actual cost of medicine is going up, how is the difference actually paid?
Yeah, that's a great question. It is a bit technical, so let me simplify it as best as I can. The cost of care in the United States, and let me define what that means. This means for an individual going to a doctor or a hospital and then taking a prescription. Yes, those costs are continuing to go up. That is an issue that we will need to deal with that as a country, separate from the current cost of health insurance that helps us to pay for that care when those events happen. So we're talking about two separate things, obviously health care, health insurance. The cost of health care is a very big conversation. I would love to sit down with you and kind of talk through a bunch of the economic principles behind that. We don't have time for that. I will talk about the cost of the insurance product because that's something we can impact right now, and you can know what that is. There are tax credits available. So if you take a child tax credit or an earned income tax credit, or let's say you even use your housing allowance to make sure and be able to not pay taxes on all of your income. All of those tax advantages, this is another tax advantage. It's IRS law. Again, whether or not we agree with it or not, it is a tax law that is available, and it would be very silly to not use a tax credit for your kid if you have a kiddo. Well, that's me. To me, if you have resources available, then you should invest those resources into yourself and into the ministry. And so the way that those costs are being dealt with, they're subsidized by tax credits. And so that's going to that is going to be a very stable opportunity for the individual. When it comes to healthcare costs, that's a whole big conversation, but we don't have time for that right now.
Right. That's excellent to equate it to the housing allowance for pastors. That's very helpful.
Yep.
Tim from Texas is asking, when will the healthcare space allow the formation of religious associations such that a regional ministry can procure healthcare for our group of pastors?
Yeah, so the previous presidential administration signed an executive order that actually allowed association plans. There's two particular large association plans that I know of right now that are similar to the way that the question is being asked. And so they are available right now. What I would say is this, generally speaking, the advantage to this particular individual, the managed individual model, as opposed to the association model, is that there are tax credits paying for the insurance. And so when you have tax credits or a tax opportunity available, I think that that's a very wise solution while it is available. Association plans, for that matter, are much different, and you're basically acting as a self-insurance carrier. That's kind of how they're organized. But you know how the last question was mentioned on the cost of total care? The association is having to take the full weight of the cost of care going up. Whereas if you go into a managed individual, you're able to lean in more to the tax credit availabilities. So again, that's very technical, but that's, I'm trying to make sure and answer the details, but also keep it simple for people.
Very helpful.
Yeah.
Paul, a missionary in Bolivia, is there any plan that can cover missionaries overseas and also at least 6 months in the States every couple of years?
Yeah, great. Well, first, thank you very much for serving. Thank you for everything that you're doing. Having lived overseas myself, I understand the burden that can feel, the weight of that ministry. And thank you for giving up part of your life to do that. I know that God will continue to reward you both in this life and in the next. So thank you. In regard to staying safe, one thing that is good is that the cost of healthcare overseas is generally less expensive. When I lived in Brazil, the cost of healthcare was dramatically less than here in the States. And there's a lot of reasons, and the quality obviously is not the same. When it comes to health insurance, most health insurance is going to be domestic in the United States, with the exception of some very large group carriers that will let you provisionally receive care overseas. But remember, insurance is paying bills. It's really hard to pay bills across country lines. And so IMG, M as in mama. IMG is a great company that does provide international insurance. It's pretty expensive. For temporary international insurance, we have a partner with Brotherhood Mutual. They've got something called Faith Ventures. Great for temporary missionary trip. When you're coming back into the States and you need insurance for that's going to be interesting. In order to get an individual plan, you do have to have a residency, a legal residency in the States for an individual plan. Honestly, you might enjoy some of the sharing ministries out there, or just a short-term plan. United Healthcare, for example, is one of the largest short-term plans in the United States where you can just get it while you're here. That might be good as well. Most of those do not cover pre-existing conditions. So again, it's going to be up to your specific situation, but I gave you the full rundown there.
Right. Very helpful.
Yeah.
My wife and I work at a university, and I'm a minister. We get our insurance through her plan as a couple. Are we eligible for this, given that she is able to cover me through her insurance?
Yeah, that's a great question. The answer is no. Currently, the way that the structure is that if you have access to a spouse's plan, specifically a minimum value plan is what it's defined as, but based on how you're asking that question, you are not eligible for any discounts. You are eligible to go buy your own plan, but you're not going to get the subsidies on that, and so it's going to end up being more expensive. And so, however, if we can transition your wife's employer over to this entire model, and we could actually help probably save that whole organization as well. Shameless plug, but we've done that plenty of times. So,
okay. Similarly, how does one enroll in this plan?
Yeah, so that's great. If you are an individual okay, and you're by yourself and you are uninsured, thankfully, the open enrollment period is still open for you. I would say sign up now. Healthcare.gov is a great place to start. You'll be able to find all of the local information for you, for the plans available around you. I want to give you a heads up. If you see an insurance carrier that you don't necessarily know their name, just do a doctor search. They've got really great doctor searches. So don't discredit a carrier just because of their name. In fact, the largest individual carrier in the United States is Ambetter by Centene. You probably have never heard of them. They're incredible. You just haven't heard of them yet. So do a doctor search. Look at the aggregate risk. Go to healthcare.gov as a way you can do this on your own. And then again, if you would like as a group to look into this for your whole team, you can go to remodelhealth.com/servant-solutions. And then we'd be happy to evaluate you. It's pretty simple on our end for you.
Excellent. My wife and I have moved away from traditional health insurance and have been clients of the Christian Sharing Healthcare Costs program. We pay the first $500, then are reimbursed above everything else. Will this proposal help us in any way?
So it will not help you with a Christian sharing program. That is not insurance. That is it's a ministry and they organize funds so all of the members can help share in one another's costs. Those are excellent. If you're happy with that and you feel a lot of people have switched over to those simply because they're a great faith-based product, that's okay. I would say this. I would encourage you to at least evaluate your new solutions that could be available to you to have real insurance. I like to know that you at least have looked through. There might be something dramatically cheaper for you, dramatically subsidized that can help improve your total aggregate risk, and then even just free up resources for you to start investing in your retirement as well. So again, healthcare.gov is a way you can just go and evaluate those options. I'd highly recommend you to do that just because, again, sharing ministry is not insurance. It's great for some, not for all. So just make sure you're taking care of you and your family as best as you can.
Next one, you mentioned the housing allowance, Jeff, earlier. How can this tax savings help me in retirement years as far as the housing allowance goes?
Yeah, excellent question. Leveraging what John has shared with us, again, freeing up dollars that can be deferred, those dollars that are saved in your budget can be then turned through salary reduction. You can just simply have your salary at your employer reduced by a similar amount or whatever amount you choose. And those dollars are going to be deferred away from taxation, sheltered. They'll accumulate until you need them, tax sheltered. At the time you take them out, if you're a minister of the gospel under the IRS code and under the revenue rulings, then you can have that distributed by Servant Solutions as a church status plan as housing allowance. So it's a huge savings. I sometimes just use myself as an example. I'm not a minister. And so when I get my money out, I will have to pay taxes on it. For our ministers of the gospel, they may not have to pay any tax liability on that via the housing allowance designation that Servant Solutions can provide. So the more dollars you can stack in there deferred away from taxes today, and then potentially take those out tax-free in retirement, it really doesn't get any better than that.
Yeah, and Jeff, I used to have a housing allowance when I was a pastor, and that is incredible. I didn't know that was possible, Jeff. So I'm grateful y'all are taking advantage of that for people.
You bet.
Definitely. It is a wonderful benefit. Speaking to the pastor's wife. Next question. Curious about how this applies to a 60-year-old couple that makes more than $75,000 a year.
Yeah, that's great. So as I mentioned, the threshold has been removed. I just use that as an example. Everybody will qualify for some sort of a discount. Now, remember how I said the cost of the product to the individual was based on their income. So in that example, 8.5% of the $75,000 per year came out to roughly $551 a month. That would be 8.5% per month of their income. Now, if they made more income, let's say that they made $150,000, twice as much, the limit, 8.5%, is going to be the same, but their cost would double. So instead of the 551, it would be 1,102. I think if I did that math right. So 1,102. Well, remember that the cost of their product was going to be, I think originally was 1,290. So then minus 1,102, I'm not going to try to subtract that. They'll save a little bit of money. They get a little bit of a discount. But there is a certain moment where they're eligible for a discount if the benchmark product is expensive, but eventually the discount becomes irrelevant if they're making too much money. And so it's not that they don't qualify, it's just it's not relevant fiscally anymore. So, but I would highly recommend you at least evaluate it. I mean, all the way, this is just against national average. There's some states that the benchmark plan will supply tons of tax credits for nearly free plans for most people. It's really incredible.
Excellent. One more question. Is there an open enrollment deadline for a group transition? Our current plan runs through the end of this year.
Great. There is not. If you have a group plan, you can switch at any time. And so we would highly recommend, if you're looking ahead already, just evaluate now when things are not in the middle of the holidays, because that's like the worst time to start a conversation is when you're trying to plan out Thanksgiving dinner. So make sure and plan ahead, chat with us. We'd love to run an evaluation. And then if it looks really good, you don't want to leave money on the table. You want to make sure and be a wise steward. We can switch you at any time. And so that's totally available. It creates a special enrollment period is what that's called. And so, yeah, we're very happy to do that.
Is there any cost, John, for people to do that, to call you just to get an evaluation?
No, not at all. We very much pride ourselves. I don't like using the word pride because it's got such a negative connotation, but we pride ourselves in serving really well and just making sure that we educate along the way. The numbers speak for themselves, and hopefully you'll really like us. So that's our goal.
Jeff, this question's for you. I have family members in ministry who don't yet have a Servant Solutions account. Help them in any way?
Say that last part again. I missed just the last.
Can this tax advantage help them in any way? You've talked about reinvesting the money, using that money to invest. If they don't have an account, what should they do?
Oh, yeah, that's excellent. In that case, that might be the jump start necessary to get your account going. It could be found money that would get that going. We just believe so heavily in the power of habit, but the power of compounding too, having money put away for long periods of time and good strategies, sound strategies, and then good coaching, which is what we try to do to try to get you from point A to point B with good financial planning. So this might be an ideal strategy for that very thing where someone does not yet have an account established. It does not matter how old you are or where you are in your ministry career. It's never too late to get going, and we can probably help you with some key strategies that will put a goal out there that can be achieved. So we'd love that opportunity to help you in any way. That's our ministry to yours.
Great. This is a very planted question from some random person. You mentioned financial planning. How much does that cost at Servant?
For Servant Solutions to set up an account?
Yes. How much does financial planning cost?
Oh, well, I love that question always. One of the propositions and value addeds at Servant Solutions is we have felt so passionate about equipping and preparing people who've answered the call to ministry for their financial future, just to help them have peace of mind. And so financial planning at Servant Solutions does not have a cost. If you're a participant, that is a service that's provided to you at a very high and comprehensive level. Bob Heyman, our vice president of financial planning and strategy, is phenomenal. He's a certified financial planner. He leads our team in that effort, and he's there to serve you. It's confidential. It's stored and locked down in a way that you can access it 24/7, and it's there for you. But we really believe that's a high value proposition. The average cost in the market today, we did a benchmarking on that, about $1,500 for a full comprehensive financial plan. So there isn't a cost with Servant Solutions.
Okay, great. We have another question for you, John. Can an employee being reimbursed via an ICHRA still receive tax credits via an ACA plan?
Yeah, great question. The answer is no. The ICHRA are individual coverage HRAs. Those HRA styles started at the beginning of 2020 following an executive order from the previous presidential administration. The idea was to give a pre-tax vehicle for employers to give a budget to buy a plan on the marketplace. But one of the primary factors is that they do not qualify for the subsidies, the tax credit discounts. And so the answer is no, they may not. In fact, I've run multiple evaluations against ICRA. And if you are a group using ICRA ICHRAs right now, you have taken a small step in the right direction, but you really do need to connect with us. And again, shameless plug, your team or you as an organization, you're spending too much. And so there's ways to make sure and take advantage of the subsidies that are out there.
Very helpful. Jeff, another one of your favorite questions. As a Servant Solutions client, how do we get connected with Bob for financial planning assistance?
Yeah, probably the easiest way. You can pick up the phone or just go to info@servantsolutions.org and write us a note, and you will hear from us extremely quickly. Bob responds quickly, and he just does such a great job. He makes this so semi-painless. There's nothing that's without pain, but it's semi-painless. Makes it very easy for you to get the process started.
Definitely. Looks like we have one last question. I'm not sure there's a real good answer here, but we're going to give it a go. John, where is the security in a health plan based on money printed by the Federal Reserve? A plan isn't cheaper if it's paid for with debt or devaluing the dollar.
Yeah, I love economics. And I actually do love learning about all the different facets of the government. We have been walking down many paths for a long time on both sides of the aisle in Congress. And what I would say is that we all need to take good caution and be good stewards of what we have right now and how we plan for the future, especially as in the United States for our government. And so these plans are not being funded any differently than any other program or solution that is out there right now. This is, again, just IRS law. So those child tax credits are the exact same funding that the IRS is using for these subsidies. And so I will nod to you and say, I agree with the principle, but I also know that leaving money on the table when we have the opportunity, it would be the same as not taking advantage of the housing allowance. And of course, we're going to do that because it's available. And there's lots of commentary and talks and chats we can have. And I love those. But I want to make sure that we are being good stewards with the opportunities and the resources God's provided to us.
Excellent. Any closing thoughts? It looks like we've answered all of our questions, unless there's just one that's someone's just dying to ask. But John or Jeff, do you have any closing thoughts before we close in prayer?
Well, I think that I'd just like to say thank you, John. Thank you to you. Also, thank you to your team. There's a team behind you that can't be seen on this screen, but we know a good number of those people, and they're high quality people. They're Christ followers, and they wear that every day. They want to honor the Lord through the service that you all do individually and collectively to help the churches and other nonprofit organizations do their work well. And so we appreciate you being a part of this today. This means so much.
Yeah, thank you for having me. I'm very grateful that God has placed me where I am right now to connect with all of you that are on here, and especially y'all that I've been able to chat with live. Ellen and Jeff, thank y'all. And again, just want to make sure people know remodelhealth.com/servant, even just servant. You can go remodelhealth.com/servant. You can get connected with us, get more information. We'd be happy to chat with you and serve you along with Servant Solutions however we can.
Excellent.
Well, again, thank you so much. And thank you to everybody that plugged in today. We appreciate that. And thanks for sharing your time with us. Ellen, pray us out of here today.
I'd be glad to. Just in closing as well, please remember this will be posted on the website. I know some of you came in late, so just a reminder, we will post this to our website as soon as we're finished. Let's pray. Heavenly Father, we thank you so much for today. Thank you, Lord, for each person on this call. And Lord, thank you for knowledgeable people who can just share great wisdom and advice that can help us make great decisions. Lord, we do desire to be good stewards of all that you've given us. So help to give us wisdom, Lord, help to provide direction as we move forward in every single decision we make. It's in your name, Lord, that we ask these things and we thank you for them. Amen.
Amen.
Thank you so much, folks. Have a great day.